Good evening. Just to let people know the shape of the evening, at least what the plans are. So we'll begin with a period of chanting. Sister Jayavira will lead the chanting this evening. And then there'll be a period of silent meditation until approximately 8:30, more or less. And then there's the opportunity if members of the lay team or lay community wish to request the refuges and 8 precepts. That opportunity is there, and then there'll be probably be a Dhamma Talk, and then after that we'll carry on with a vigil until midnight. Just before midnight we'll close with a little bit of chanting, and then wrap things up at 12 o'clock. So.
So tonight we'll chant the Paritas. It's in the yellow book. It's on page 32. And I'll start with the invitation to the Devas, and then we go to Namo Tassa and Buddhang Saranang, and I'll guide you through the relevant pages as we go along. Paritawana metang sameta padanta awikita cita paritang panantu sage kame charupe girisikaratate chantalike Vimane Diperate Chagame Tarvanagahane Gehawatum Hikete Bhuma Chayandu Deva Jalatala Visame Yakaganda Banaga Titanta Sandikeyang Muniwara Wacanang Sadawo Me Sunantu Buddha Dasanakalo Ayam Badanta Dhamma Savanakalo Ayam Badanta Sangha Pairupa Sanakalo Ayam Badanta Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Please go to page 36, Ratana Sutta. Yang kinci witang idang wahurang wasage suwayang ratanang panitang nano samang atitata gatena idam pibude ratanang panitang etena sacena suwa tihotu kayang wiragang amatang panitang yada jaga sakya muni samahito nate nadame nasama dikinci dampi dame ratanang panitang etena sacena suwa tihotu yam buddha seto pariwanai sucing samadimanan tarinya namahu samadinate nasamo nawijati idam pidame ratanang panitang etena sace nasuwati hotu ye pugala atasatang pasata chatari etani yugani hon titeda kineya sugata sasawaka ete sudinani maha palani idam pisangge ratanang panitang etena sace nasuwati hotu yesu payuta manasa dale nanika minogo tamasa sanam hite patipata amatang wikaya lada mudani puting punjamana idam pisangge ratanang panitang etena sace nasuwa tihotu kinang puranang nawang nati sambawang wirata cita yatike pawasaminte kinapija awiruhi canda nipantidira yatayang padipo idam pisangge ratanang panitang etena sace nasuwati hotu. The next page, 38, Pangala Sutta. Asewana chabalanang Panditanam ca sewana puja ca pujaniyanam etam mangalamutamang patirupade sawaso ca pube cakata punyata atasamma panidica etam mangalamutamang bahusacan ca sipan ca winayo ca susikito subasita ca yawaca etam mangalamutamang mata pitu upatanang putadara sasanggaho anakula cakamanta etam mangalamutamang danan ca dhammacariya ca nyatakanan ca sanggaho anawajani kamani etam mangalamutamang arati wirati papa majapana ca sanyamo appamado ca dhamesu etam mangalamutamang karawo ca niwato ca santuti ca katanyuta kalena dhamma sawanang etam mangalamutamang kanti ca sowaca sata samananan ca dasanang kalena dhamma sakaca etam mangalamutamang tapo ca brahmacariya ca ariya saca nadasanang nibbana saca kiriya ca etam mangalamutamang Buddha saloka dhamehi citta yasana kampati asokang wirajang kemang etam mangalamutamang etadisani katawana sabha tamaparajita sabata soting kacanti tante sang mangalamutamanti. Page 40, next page. Karaniya mata kusalena yantang santang padang abisame casako uju casu huju casu waco ca samuduanatimani santu sako casu baro ca apakico ca salahu kawuti santindriyo ca nipako ca apagabo kulesu ananugido nachakudang samacare kinciye nawinyu pare upawadeyung sukino wa kemino hontu sabe sata bawantu sukitata yeke cipana puta titasawa tawarawa anawasesa digawaye mahantawa majimara saka anukatula ditawaye ca adita ye cadure wasantia widure Buddha sambawe siwa sabe sata bawantu sukitata naparo parang nikubetanati manye takata cinang kincibaya rosana patikasanya Nyanyamanya sadhu kamice yamata yatani yang butang ayusa eka putamanurake ewam pisa babute sumanasam bawaye aparimanang metanca sabalokasami manasam bawaye aparimanang udang ado catiriyanca asambadang awerang asapatang titan carang nisinowa sayanowa yawata sawikatamido etang sating aditeya brahma metang wiharang idamahuditin ca anupagama silawa dasanena sampano kame suwineya gedang nahi jatuka paseyang punaretiti. Page 49, Bojjhanga Paritang. Bojjhango sati sangkato Dhammanang vicayo tata wiriyang piti pasari bojjhanga catata pare samadupeka bojjhanga satete sabadasina munina samadakata bhavita bahulikata sangwatanti abinyayani bana yacha bodhiya etena sacha wajena sotite hotu sabada ekasaming samayena to mogalanan cakasapang kilane dukite disawa bojjhange satade saite catang abinanditawa roga mucing sutang kane etena sacha wajena sotite hotu sabada ekada dhammaraja pikelanyena bipilito shundate renatane wabana petawana sadarang samodita waca abada tamhawuta sita naso etena sacha wajena sotite hotu sabada pahinate ca abada tinanam pimahesinang magahata kilesa wapatanupa tidamatang etena sacha wajena sotite hotu sabada. Next page 50, Jaya Mangala. Bahung saha samabini mita sawudantang krime kala mudita gorasa senamarang dana di dhamma widina citawa munindo tante jasa bawatute jaya manggalani mara dire kamabiyu jita sabarating goram panalawakama kamata dayakang kanti sudanta widina jitawa munindo tante jasa bawatute jayamang galani nala giring gajawarang atimata butang dawa gica kamasani wasudarunantang metambuse kawidina jitawa munindo tante jasa bawatu te jayamang galani uki takagamatiha tasudarunantang dawantiyo janapatang gulimalawantang idi pisang katamano jitawa munindo tante jasa bawatute jaya manggalani katawa nakatamudarang iwaga biniya cincaya duta wacanang janakaya maje sante nasoma widina jitawa munindo tante jasa bawatute jaya manggalani sacang wihaya matisa cakawada ketung wada biro pitamanang ati anda butang panya padi pajarito jitawa munindo tante jasa bawatute jaya manggalani nando pananda bujagang wibudang mahiding pute natera bujage nadama payanto idu pade sawidina jitawa munindo tante jasa bawatute jaya manggalani duga haditi bujage nasuda tahatang Brahmang wisudi judimi dibaka bidanang nyana gadena widina jitawa munindo tante jasa bawatute jaya manggalani eta bibuddha jaya manggala atagata yo wacano dinadine sarate matanti hitawanane kawiwidani cupadawani mokang sukang adigame yanaro sapanyo duka pata jani duka baya pata jani baya soka pata jani soka hontu sabe pipanino eta wata ca amhehi sampatang punya sampadang sabe dewa numodan tu saba sampati sidia danang dadan tu sada yasilang rakan tu sabada bawana birata hontu gacan tu dewata gata sabe Buddha balapata pacekanan cayang balang arahanta nanca teje narakang pandami sabaso. Next page 52. Mahakaruniko nato hitaya sabapaninang puretawa parami sabha pato sambodhi mutamang etena saca wajena hotute jaya manggalang jayanto bodhiyamule sakyanang nandiwadano ewang tewang wicayoho hijaya sujaya mangale aparajita palanke sise patawi pokare abhiseke sababudanang agapato pamodati sunakatang sumanggalang supapatang suhutitang sukano sumuhuto chasuyitang brahmachari supadakinang kayakamang wacakamang padakinang manokamang panidite padakina nikatawa nalabantate padakine bhavatu sabamanggalang rakantu sabadewata sababuddhanubhave nasadasoti bhavantu te bhavatu sabamanggalang rakantu sabadewata sabadhammanubhave nasadasoti bhavantu te bhavatu sabamanggalang rakantu sabadewata sabasanganu bhavena sadasoti bhavantu te.
Thank you. That was very nicely done, but just a bit early. I'll remember though. Yeah, because if anybody wants to request the precepts, but yeah, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, there is this opportunity on these full moon and new moon nights, and tonight being a new moon. That if people from the broader community, either from living outside the monastery or inside, wish to request the 3 refuges and 8 precepts, that the text is in the dark brown volume beginning on page 131, and it's the form, there's 3 forms of the first chanting presented, and it's the top one for a group from a monk. So, and traditionally, this begins with 3 bows, and then chanting in unison. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tisarana gamanang nittitang. Excuse me. Bana. Excuse me. Bānātipātā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature. Adinna dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given. Brahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Sura meraya majapamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs that lead to carelessness. Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
Nacha gita vadita visukadasana mala ganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment. Ucca sayana mahasayana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
Yemani atta sikapadani samadhiyami. Yemani atta sikapadani silena sukatinyanti silena bhoga sampada silena niputinyanti tasma silang vesotaye. Okay, refreshing our intentions, precepts. People living here are already living on these precepts, but taking the opportunity every couple of weeks like this to refresh that intention in a formal way. If we use that skillfully, it can be very, very helpful along the path. So, okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namasami. So coming together on the lunar observance night by our monastic lunar calendar. So it's the new moon of February, 9th of February. And on these occasions, as we just saw, there's the opportunity, part of the evening is for members of the broader community, the lay community, to request the refuges and 8 precepts. Coming together, chanting, meditating together, reflecting on Dharma together. And these are all things in the wholesome spectrum of action. It's all wholesome things to do. Blameless, leading to wholesome results. Wholesome actions reap wholesome results. So this is kamma or karma. So karma is the same word, just different form of the word, and karma has entered the English language some time ago. So whether we're well versed in Buddhist philosophy and practice, or whether it's something that's new to us, we've all heard the word karma, and it's a subject so deep, or well, not just the subject, but more to the point, how it all works is so deep that I think even the Buddha said, if you try to figure it out, your head will split in two, or something along those lines. And yet, the basic, the more obvious functions or results of karma, action, it literally means action, and then the results. The resultant karma is very easy, actually very easy to see in many instances, and it is something that we can really fully contemplate in this life, in day by day, moment by moment. We can, because we're living the results of karma. Every once in a while, somebody will ask me, "Well, yeah, but is that fate? Is that just predetermined? That everything happens in our life in a predetermined, fatalistic way?" Fate. I may have just misused the word fatalistic, so I apologize for that if I did. So if we just live by some predetermined way. But Buddha, he didn't consider it like that. He really was using the framework of karma. And that karma, it doesn't mean that every single thing that's happening to us now is the results of karma, of our own karma. That there are other forces at play, and a lot of it is just nature. And there's just there's things, so many things happening. And yet, the karma that we have done, all the actions, all of our past actions, they can't be changed. And we can't change the past. As it says in the Bhadikkarata Sutta, the past is left behind. It's left behind. We can't change that. We can change the story, and this is what the human mind is pretty good at doing, is changing the story in our own mind, and then externally. It might not just remain within our own mind. It might go outwards. And sometimes we know we're changing the story, but a lot of the times we don't know we're changing the story. How we can, really, our quote-unquote memory of things, it's a kind of fluid. Probably many of us, if not most or all of us, have maybe had the experience of maybe returning to a place that we've been to before. Maybe we visited some place a long time ago, and then you have clear memories, or you think you have clear memories, and then you go back and you go, sometimes you go, wow, this is different than the way I remember it. Or we might remember an event, then speak to somebody else, and maybe recount who was also there, and then recount that event, and reminisce over that event, and maybe have two very different stories of some of the aspects. But the actual actions, the what actually happened, whatever it is, it can't be changed. So yes, we are as we chant frequently, we're the owner of our actions, our karma. I'm the owner of my action, heir to my actions, born in my actions, related to my actions, abide, supported by my actions. Whatever actions I do, for good or for ill, of that I will be the heir. So, if we consider that maybe through a certain lens, it might sound a little bit, might bring us down a little bit. Might think, ugh, wow. But it's for good or for ill. It's both. We are the owner of our wholesome actions equally to our unwholesome. And we can change the course from this moment. Whatever fruits, results of our past actions that we are experiencing, we can change from now on. And that includes, maybe we're reaping the results of wholesome things. It doesn't mean that we're always going to experience wholesome. We need to continue with wholesome actions through body, speech, and mind. In other words, we can't just rest on our laurels, as they say in English. We can't just think, okay, there we are. So, because as we know, life is a flow, it's a process. But if we believe that things are fate, presented to us as predetermined, then in a way, is there any Buddhist path? Then the Buddha, why would he teach this? Because what he taught us was that there is a path to be developed. He didn't say it was predetermined. He said that we all have the opportunity for awakening. We all have that opportunity. He didn't say we would all become awakened or realize awakening. Using the word become is not correct, but he didn't say we would all realize awakening. Although some traditions that have developed over the last millennia might take a view closer to that. What we've been handed down is that we all have that opportunity. And it's through living the path. So there is a doing. So there is an action. So there is kamma, a wholesome kamma to be applied. There is the Eightfold Path. And so these are all to be developed, to be cultivated, to be lived. So this is what we've inherited from the Buddha, passed down over these 2,500 years. This is what we've inherited is the encouragement and teachings to actually do that. And so I know sometimes I haven't heard it lately, so maybe it's not a used expression, but people just say, "Oh well," they sort of throw their arms up and say, "Well, oh man, this is my karma." Yeah, well, yeah, it's your karma. So, and it's usually in reference to somebody experiencing something negative, something unwanted. And so do something about it. Or it's like we've been studying the parami, the perfections, the 10 parami, and I think it may have been Ajahn Chah. I'd have to look it up, but if somebody would say, "Oh, I just don't have the parami," so I don't have it, and he'd say, "Well, then make it, make some." The parami are to be developed. It's not just either you got them or you don't. And the same with wholesome kamma, the wholesome results of kamma. If we aren't experiencing that, then make it, do it. And this is what I find so amazing living in a place like this, living in communities of the nature in which we live, have the opportunity, is that we're not asked to do anything that generates negative karma. Everything is set up so that we can live our entire day. But it's up to us. We can still generate negative karma, but we're not being asked or we're not being demanded to do anything that would generate negative karma. And one of those other reflections that we chant quite frequently is, the days and nights are relentlessly passing. How well am I spending my time? And so what are we doing with our time? Are we applying ourselves? Is what we are doing, is it in the wholesome spectrum of action through body, speech, or mind? And so to keep developing the Eightfold Path, the right speech, right action, keep going down the list, right intentions, right livelihoods, right mindfulness, concentration, effort. I probably left out one, but you just keep developing it, keep cultivating it through right application, wholesome karma. And so, as most of us are aware that karma, that intention. There's that intention behind it. And this is where we really generate both wholesome and unwholesome karma. That's why, accidents, honest mistakes and accidents don't generate bad karma. They might generate remorse. Maybe we realized maybe we weren't careful enough, but there was no intention to do harm. And this is very important to really reflect on. So all day, every day, living here again, using the example of living in a community like this every day, I just see people I see people generating good karma, all these wholesome intentions. But also there's the internal efforts and intentions, the ones that aren't seen, especially what I'm referring to as around practice. Just really consider that it's karma through body, speech, and mind. It's not just through what we do with our body and what we say. But the wholesome efforts, using energy to apply and to applying right effort, wholesome effort. As Dhamma practitioners, as spiritual practitioners, to be really trying to learn the teachings on an intellectual level, try to learn them as clear as possible. And try to check for mistakes in understanding, which are very easy to develop. And applying the teachings, and then hopefully realizing the teachings, so realizing the Dhamma. And so also there's this word effort that I just used. The effort to cultivate the wholesome and to abandon the unwholesome, to enhance things that are wholesome that are already there, and to learn how to avoid picking up the unwholesome. And through being heedful, there's that word, heedfulness. It's used a lot in English translations, Dhamma heedfulness. Mindfulness, sati. Being really clear, being aware. And here again, I'm just talking about all the things that we're doing here and trying to cultivate every day. So I'm not saying these things because we're not doing it, but just to kind of remind ourselves in a hopefully uncomplicated way. Yeah, and then there's this expression that you may have heard, the karma leading to the end of karma. Karma leading to the end of karma. So does that mean karma that leads to the end of, so the action that leads to end of all action? No. Because I know the first time I heard it, I was like, how does that work? If karma means action, and it's a karma leading to the end of action, so what? You realize full awakening and you just stop? No, that's not the way it worked, obviously. You look at the example of the people in front of us, before us, starting with the Buddha. He didn't stop doing. In fact, he did a lot. He did more. From what we know or what we understand from the teachings handed down to us, he did more after his awakening than before. He did more action. So, for instance, the karma leading into the end of karma, one way that I consider it, and hopefully this fits in with the scriptural teachings, is developing the Eightfold Path, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. There's intention to develop the path. Another expression that I quite appreciate, and is effortless effort. Effortless effort. So it might just maybe sound like a play on words, but I find quite interesting to reflect on. Because there is effort is needed on the path. It's not just a pacifist. We can be pacifists in the peaceful sense, but it's not just doing nothing. There's a doing. There's a doing. Applying effort, and a lot of effort, but at the right measure. Not necessarily, a lot of effort doesn't necessarily mean a lot of energy. But here again, that steady application, using our time skillfully, applying the teachings. Of reflecting. But the way I've heard often reflected on this effortless effort is it's also the effort that's not based, hinging around a sense of self. It's not developing a sense of self. Not applying the teachings and realizing the teachings and forming more of a sense of self, because this is the birth. This is birth, psychologically, emotionally. And the Buddha was trying to get us off the wheel of birth and death. He was pointing to, with his teachings, the ending of birth and death, both biological and psychological. So if we're making a lot of effort and creating more of a sense of self around that, then it's actually picking up and using that in a way that's not leading away from suffering, but leading to suffering. It's not getting us off that wheel of birth and death. Now, does that mean we stop using personal pronouns? No. It's still, there's the... it's still whatever this being is. These 5 heaps of existence: form, feeling, perceptions, mental formations, and sense consciousness, and all that entails. This is the one doing it. So it's still, we can even internally use the language. I'm putting forth effort, but we also know what I means. We have hopefully, through reflection and contemplation, understand that that's conventional thinking, conventional labeling, very useful, very convenient. As one of our dear elders refers to it as convenient fiction. It's useful, but we also know that the I is not what we usually think it is, or what we're taught to think it is. It's a process, shifting, moving, doing, sort of doing life, not being. It's not static. And a sense of who we are, if we grasp at the sense of who we think we are, who we want to be seen as, what we want to be considered as. It's that grasping, that sense of self, that sense of identity. So if we can make effort, put forth effort, use energy, put in the exertion, exert ourselves, but without... not only without deepening that sense of self, but with the effort that will lead to the dismantling of any grasping that we might have of sense of self. The disbanding of what we may have picked up and learned through life. Any grasping, if there's grasping at identity. So that sense of I is referred to as ego in our tradition, in the English language. And it's not the use of the word ego like I learned when I was a kid, where they said, "Oh, you've got an ego." It's always pejorative, always negative, and it always meant that you had a big ego. At least the way it was used with us. But this is more neutral. Just this sense of I. And yet. It's one of the last things, it's at least in the traditional teachings, it's one of the last things that we will most likely be able to see through, to let go. It's within the list of the 10 things that bind us, referred to often as the 10 fetters. I believe it's number 8, it's in the last 3. One of the last things that... because of how challenging it is to see through this construct. It's constructed, it's fabricated, our sense of who we think we are, what we think we are. Like everything else, it's a fabrication. And yet it has so much subtlety. Some of it's very, very blunt and in our faces, but some of it is just so refined and subtle. And if I understand correctly, it all needs to be let go of, seen through. It doesn't, and here again, it doesn't mean that we lose all sense of any sense of identity, but the clinging. We still function as an individual. This is my understanding. Functioning as an individual, we know what's ours and what somebody else's. We know the boundaries, and yet we've let go of the actual the clinging aspect that leads to suffering. So, and also that formation of the sense of self, especially if once we start to get even a glimpse of how that is formed, that's going back to the main topic of karma. That mental karma. To see, when we see how it's being formed, to then right there, we have that opportunity to apply ourselves to do karma, to do mental karma that does not perpetuate sense of self, does not perpetuate becoming bhava, does not perpetuate birth, the birth of an identity. But instead, it gives us the opportunity to see through it and realize the peace of non-clinging, the peace of non-grasping, laying down the burden. And we all have this opportunity. It's challenging, it's really challenging. And so this holistic path that the Buddha taught, what he realized for himself and then shared. So, I'll use that word again that I used a minute ago, holistic. It's a real, it's got many, many facets, but they are the core root teachings. They're not so broad that I feel they're not so broad that it's not outside of our grasp. We don't have to understand every sutta, every detail, but using the core teachings. Abandoning the 5 hindrances, the things that block us. Sense, desire, ill will, laziness, sluggishness, restlessness, agitation, doubt. Seeing through those, abandoning those. I think it was about a month ago I offered a reflection around the hindrances. Cultivating the 4 frames of reference, the satipatthana. The reference of the body, the reference of feeling, the reference of the mind, and the reference of phenomena arising and ceasing in the mind. And utilizing the 7 factors of awakening. Mindfulness. Investigation of phenomena. Joy, rapture, tranquility. Samadhi, the lucid calm of the mind. Equanimity. So using these frameworks frameworks to frame our practice, to have ways of considering aspects of this human existence and shaping that, cultivating it, developing it, but not clinging. Because these are all, it's not that once we develop these, that's, okay, I get those, then I get nibbana. No, it doesn't work that way, but they are the tools. These are the tools, our aids, the vehicle, but not the goal. So we're just shy of the midway point in our winter retreat, 3-month winter retreat. And so I feel, in my opinion, we've got, I think, amazing conditions to practice within. We have amazing support from the retreat support team that's living here, from people from the outside supporting us with both material support, but also just well-wishing, supporting us with the peace of people coming to just visit here peacefully. We have the 4 requisites. Food, medicine, lodging, and clothing. We have the Dhamma teachings available to us. We have the structure of the ethical framework of our life. And so it's up to us. And I feel people are really, really practicing well. I was saying that this morning after the Padimokkha, after our precept ceremonies. I feel like people really are utilizing this amazing opportunity situation that we have. So on that note, I'll close there.